Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you. Say what one more goddamn time.
You know what he's saying.
Hi everyone, and warm welcome to yet another episode of Say What, this time with Mr. Christopher Linard Jackson. This is the man growing up in Virginia playing the violin and then shifted to bass and developed over the years a very unique sound that you would get many examples of in this episode. But it's also a man who started a movement with the words of spreading good vibes and positive energy throughout the universe, as he self-described it. The concept of Linards Many Moods that combines different kind of genres, musical expression in the realm of funk and soul music, of course. And throughout different places in the world, Greece and Spain and Poland and all over the world, he tried to develop this concept that unites people and just spreading the positive energy. You get to hear a lot about that in this episode, but also his way from Virginia to New York and ending up as the front man who developed the whole foundation of the Groove, the club in New York that was the absolute hotspot for all of the musicians. Prince, Chaka Khan, everyone was there. This was the place to be, and how did it end up being that? This is the story about Linard, the bass player, the singer, the songwriter, the concert arranger, producer, love spreader through his amazing bass playing. Wow. Enjoy. Glad to have you on board as a guest here, Linard. So
I'm grateful to be on board. I'm grateful to be here, man.
This show is about the love of music, the love of soul and funk music, and that's why we started this. When we see clips on your playing on the YouTube from the Grove, and when we saw you in the Minneapolis, I had an opportunity to do that at the Dakota Jazz Club. Right. Man, I guess there's no music lover in the world that cannot be amazed by your playing of the bass. It's amazing. So you really describe love in music while just the way you play it. So wow.
Well,
thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Music it really feels like it's just part of me. It's part of who I am, who I've been all my life. So you just feel like it's part of my nature to be playing, you know.
Smack it loud. Come get some. Tell them who you are.
Everything was so cool at that place.
I remember that the walls was painted with musicians and all kinds of stuff. I just was amazed of the music that you played. And everything was so professional. So I'm very happy to have met you there and to be able to hear your stories a little bit about Shelby J, and Prince was at the Grove too, I reckon. And so why don't you tell us a little bit how you started and how you came to the Grove and what artists you met? We talked about Prince and Shelby and so on before. What was your music life before, and how did you come to the Grove, and where are you today?
Well, I mean, I started out as a very young kid, 4 years old, singing in gospel church, Baptist church in Richmond, Virginia. So just where I'm from. And music kind of evolved through my school years. At first, I was just singing at 4 years old. And at 8 years old, I started to play the violin. That was my first introduction to playing instruments. So, and being around in an orchestra, you start to experiment with all the other instruments that's in there. As a kid, you know, you want to see how everything works. You know,
of course,
especially banging on the drums and the big timpani. You know, so and those sounds like that. It was, you know, all of it was. Felt enriching to me, you know, those sounds. So theoretically, I really got into wanting to learn about each instrument. What was their role in when you start to play a song, and so that carried me through up until around the 8th grade. I was in school. I wrote my first orchestra piece and directed it. And then that next year, all the upright bass players graduated. So my hand was the biggest of the violin players. So they switched me to upright bass.
Okay.
Which was really upsetting to me because I really started to like the violin and being in that section. But that started my journey on the bass and playing bass guitar, because after playing upright, then I wanted to learn how to play the bass guitar because, you know, that was much cooler than the big upright bass, you know, so.
Yeah. So because of your size, you have to change your instrument. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, because of my hands. Yeah, it was because it wasn't because of my height, because I stayed really short through school. But because of my hands were so big, they switched me to upright bass. Yeah.
You mentioned gospel and orchestral pieces and stuff like that. Did you have any role models at that young age? Was it someone in the family, or was it someone? Role model,
yeah. Well, it was everybody in my family, because everybody in my family pretty much sang in church, you know. So, especially my mother and father, they both were singing in the choir, and my dad had his own singing group, so they pretty much were my role models. Along with, you know, my dad always played Mahalia Jackson's music around the house. Aretha Franklin's music, because, you know, Aretha always was in church and doing what they call, you know, popular music, secular music at that time. So she was always in and out, along with Al Green and people like Sam Cooke.
Wow, all the great ones, yes.
Yeah. So all those guys was doing both gospel music and the mainstream pop music. Those guys, I would hear them all the time in the house. So yeah, that music became a heavy influence.
Well, isn't that pretty amazing? Because still till this day, I mean, every once in a while when we meet Tim, yeah, it's those names again: Aretha Franklin, Al Green, Sam Cooke. It's like Temptations, Ohio Players. We listen to those.
Jungle
you were in 8th grade or something, and you have changed to the bass, and what happened in those years, and the way to the groove, and where you are at now, the platform you have established for yourself?
Yeah. When I was 8 years old, in the 8th grade, and started to really play the bass and started to really get into it. It took me about a year to really get my mind into where I had made the change now from violin to bass, because I really didn't want to make that transition. But it was just, we really could almost say it was destined, how things worked out, but
we are so thankful for that.
Well, I'm thankful too, because it allowed me now to like meet you guys and do all the things I've done around the world. When I was 13 years old, the only way I could get a bass guitar was I had to play in my father's singing group. So I had to still stay connected to church. Once I got the bass guitar, I still approached it like I was playing the violin. So this is kind of like how I developed my own approach to playing bass. So this is why.
Could you describe that process?
Yeah, well, when you hear a lot of stuff that I do on the bass, I really try to use the instrument as a melodic instrument and play a lot of melodic lines on it, and doing solo section when I'm improvising. And I always had an affinity. When I started playing instruments, I wanted to play drums before they made me play violin. So I always I try to use the bass guitar as like drums. And especially when I heard Larry Graham.
The slap technique.
When he was with Sly Stone and he came out with that thank you thing, Be Myself song. I want to thank you, Be Myself. And he was playing with his thumb. And that was kind of like the first kind of introduction to that style of playing. Yeah,
that was totally groundbreaking, the Larry Graham technique back then.
Yes, and it was like a light came on for me. Yeah. It was like all of a sudden, I didn't want to really play my fingers anymore. I just wanted to play that kind of style.
We went duo, but see, the thing of it is after we didn't have drums, it caused a problem. See, I kind of miss not having that backbeat and that snare drum. So I had to kind of compensate. But now interesting, see, I came to the bass from the guitar, and we had an old organ in the club, and I used to play the bass with my foot, see, while I was playing the guitar. But now, since it was like a duo, and we didn't have that organ, I went and rented me a bass. In the meantime, till we get the old organ fixed. But the organ was too old. It couldn't be fixed. So I ended up keeping the bass, and then when we ended up without the drummer, I started thumping to make up for not having a bass drum. Right? Okay, so that kind of made up for the bass drum. But now the snare drum thing, I had to compensate for that too. So I did a little thumping and plucking like this. They out.
But it's interesting you describe it like you're playing it, you were approaching it like the violin. And there's something, I know that Prince, when he talked about his guitar playing, he said that, well, I don't think about the guitar. I think like I'm singing through it. It's like,
well, that's how I because it's like you can still play melody through it. So it's like everything I play, it's like I'm singing. Well, my music teacher told me everything that you can sing, you should be able to play on your instrument. So
that's true. Yeah.
So when I was singing out first before I would actually try to play it. And once I sang it, it was easy for me to play it.
So it took you 1-2 years there to kind of get
to kind of like really settle into playing the bass and things, and then I got introduced into the business, the music business, entertainment business, as a sound man, running sound for one of the top groups in Virginia called Ujima. At that time, I was 14, and my brother was part of their road crew, and so I started just go to their shows, and they were like the top band around, and Atlantic Records was about to sign them. So they used to do a lot of opening acts for the main act that would come into town. So by running sound for them, I started to meet Patti LaBelle. I met Patti LaBelle when she was with the Bluebells with Nona Hendrix.
Yeah.
Sarah Dash. So I met them when I was like 14, 15 years old. And then I met Curtis Mayfield, and guys like that.
Such a great learning, such a great school to be able to just watch and learn from the great ones.
From those guys,
I guess.
Yeah, and watch how to work the audience and but the best thing was, even before the shows, was watch how they put their shows together doing sound check. That was the amazing part, and how they were getting their sound. Because I was there running sound. So I had to I was part of building their sound while they was in these places.
And you were so young, and you have to take the perspective of their approach to it and their wishes for the music. And it's like,
well, see, I didn't have any approach. So the thing was, my whole knowledge now was based on what they were telling me. This is what they wanted. This was the reason why they wanted it that way. So, that really helped shape how I approach things as I continue to move forward. I was really kind of forced in that situation. A guy asked me to put together a show for this singing group called the Waller Family. And I put the show together because now, at that age now, as I started to get older, I was a pretty successful sport athlete in going through high school, playing baseball, football, and basketball. But the baseball and football thing started to really materialize like it was going to be something I was going to do as a career. And matter of fact, I made the Kansas City Royals baseball team trying out.
Wow. So you were a bit on the fence of what you're going to choose then, I guess.
I didn't know really what I want to do. So I used to sit down and talk to my parents all the time. And they used to say, you just got to focus on one thing and kind of stick to it. And I used to tell them, look, I'm going to be a professional. No matter which way I go, I'm going to be a professional. So that was my whole mindset. Whatever I was going to do, I was going to be a professional.
Not taking the time to be a fully prepared for obstacles we go through in time, in life. Stabbing our own self in the back with the knife. Take the time to 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 take the time to
So I wanted to always be good at as good as they were or better.
Wow. It
And
sounds like that you have a very good support from your network and parents, and it's all good. It's all hard work, and I guess all
It's
the
all
big
hard
ones.
work. Well, see,
there are no shortcuts in perfection.
My mom was a hard worker all the time. It was like, that's all she stressed was working hard. But my mom was work, right? So, and that's what is still to me. Yeah, it's like a strong work ethic. So I used to practice 5-6 hours a day on either one, sports, music. So, you know what I'm saying? So
the years went by and you gained more experience from the sound, and then you I choose the musical side in.
At 18, I put together this show for the Waller family, and the interesting thing was the show was opening for Stephanie Mills. It was
wow, yeah.
So at Virginia Union University at the homecoming concert, and so after the show, Stephanie Mills called me into her limousine and said, "Hey, your band is really, really good. You guys, I know y'all are young. Y'all have a great future ahead of you." And I said, "No, this is not my band. I just put this show together for these singers, and I'm going to go do something else." And she said, "Why would you want to do that?" She said, "You could have a long music career, and it could take you all over the world."
So that was a game shifter to get that kind of feedback.
That was a matter of fact. That changed my whole perspective on what I wanted to do. One of the top bands in Virginia, but we met this guy, Joe Jefferson Jr. His father was one of the songwriters for the Spinners at Philadelphia International. He wrote the song "One of a Kind Love Affair," "Mighty Love" for the Spinners, "Brandy" for the OJs. So he used to come down to see his son, and he saw us in this little band that we had put together. And he started to kind of like give us little pointers on things, right? And so we was writing our songs. We made a demo tape, and he took it to some of his people up in Philadelphia. Now, the story we heard was these people up there liked our demo tape, but there was a guy already working with labels that had a similar sound. That guy at that time was Prince. So we didn't get our situation set up because, we had a sound similar to Prince. And now Prince, and they were saying, well, you guys are 4 musicians. This guy is playing everything himself. So
it's hard to compete to that, I guess.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting how like all those years I kind of like almost came in contact with Prince back then. And Prince's career started to really take off. So then the first year he came to Richmond, Virginia. Now I was hanging out with these promoters because now my band had started to become kind of like well-known there. And so I used to be with all the promoters around.
Okay.
And Prince's first tour was opening for Rick James.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that particular night they came to Richmond, Virginia, I was backstage with the promoter, and I met Rick James and Prince at the same time. But they were arguing. They were arguing with each other because Prince would always play overtime, So Rick James was upset with Prince, and he was like, "Yo, man, you got to stop playing overtime." It was like it was this crazy conversation because the promoter was saying, "Well, guys, I want y'all to meet this guy, Chris Jackson, Linard, he's a bass player." And they looked at me, and then they just like went back arguing. And I was like,
so the rumors is true because there are so many rumors that they were kind of having these
Fist
fights. These fights every now and then, and they didn't really get along. And he was stealing his instruments, and they were kind of, yeah.
There was a lot of stuff. Wasn't it Prince who stole one of the keyboards there with music?
I think it was the opposite. Rick James.
Maybe it was the opposite.
Yeah, he stole the synthesizers and from Prince. He had a lot of stories from that.
Yeah,
but
that's correct.
Yeah. Well, Prince used to play over. You know, he had a show that he would do, and it was a certain time limit. You know, but it was more than what Rick James had really given. It was supposed to be just 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Prince sometimes would play 50 minutes, especially if the crowd was really into it, you know. So every night it was to be some kind of argument. Because I went to 3 of their shows. They played Richmond, then they played Hampton Roads, Norfolk area, and then I went to one of the shows in D.C.
Just to see those shows back then and to even meet them, and I want to get back to that, but just to... In that period of time, there he also did a tour, Prince, with Zapp and Roger and The Time. I think the year after that, or
yeah,
and that was think about being there and to see those at the same night. Those were the days. Wow.
I think that the next year they gave Prince his own shows.
Yeah,
that's when he introduced The Time.
Yeah.
So it just was The Time and him. And then the following year, they brought out Vanity.
Yeah.
So it was Vanity, The Time, and Prince. That toured for a couple of years too. But I
was actually some tour legs when he also had Zapp and Rogers with him in some combination.
Yeah.
But please take us back to the meeting. You went backstage and you got introduced, but they were in the middle of a fight. What happened?
Well, I mean, it was like, you know, Rick was cursing at Prince for like once again playing overtime, and Prince was just standing there. He was just standing there. It's like, you know, like he really wasn't even paying attention to what James was saying. So it was it was kind of funny, you know what I'm saying? So when Rick James stopped screaming, Prince just walked off, you know.
Yeah, they were kind of both of them, and I guess it was...
Yeah, both of them were really kind of arrogant and egotistical.
When we making love at night, sexy, sing. Bloody, the way you love, baby. Sexy. Please let me lay it down.
I really got to know the bass player for Rick James and the keyboard player guy. He was really, really cool guy. And, you know, they was from Buffalo, so they was really cool. But those years, I met a lot of artists that year because you know, previously I already knew the guys from Kool and the Gang by opening up for them, our own band opening up for them, but we opened also with the Wilder family. We opened up for Cameo, and we had opened up for Betty Davis, Miles Davis' wife, and so I got to know all of those guys. But then when I was hanging out with those promoters, I met a lot of people. I met Eddie Van Halen, all the Van Halen guys.
What was your show like when you opened for them? Was it some of your own music as well with your band, or covers, or?
Yeah, when we was opening for those artists back then, the group was called the Wilder Family then. So they had a little R&B ballad that was kind of regional hit. But then I had arranged the show almost like what you see in the Groove. I put together a show where they were doing Stevie Wonder music, Earth, Wind, and Fire. They used to do a lot of Natalie Cole stuff because there was 2 sisters in the group. We did some Aretha Franklin. So I just really kind of formulated the show to kind of whatever suited them at their strong suit as singers.
Okay.
But these guys always came and talked to me now, all these guys from these different bands. So I started to get to know these guys, like Khalis Bayan from Kool and the Gang, who wrote all of the hit records for Kool and the Gang, Ladies Night, Get Down on It, Celebration, Jungle Boogie.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I started meeting these guys. And so, and also too now hanging out with these promoters, because they was taking me to these shows every week. I was meeting like George Benson, the dudes from Earth, Wind and Fire. I met Larry Graham. I met Bootsy. I met George Clinton. We kind of hit it off. So I became friends with a lot of the guys in Parliament Funkadelic.
Wow.
So,
yeah, you mentioned Jungle Boogie. There's you got an amazing clip of that.
Yeah. We did a clip there, and we was doing a show for the keyboard player for Smokey Robinson. We was doing a birthday party for him up in Montreal, Canada. That clip is from that show.
Yeah. So you met with Larry Graham and Bootsy and the P-Funk community as well. So I guess that made big influence on you.
Big influence because my band, when at 18, was called the Funketeers. So it was like, you know, we swore out. We was part of the whole Parliament movement. You know,
there's no mistake of what genre that is.
yeah. I mean, we used to dress like and wear the costumes. I used to wear this big white. People thought it was a wig, but it was a hat. But it was like white bush, like looked like Bootsy. So it was like, you know, it was pretty crazy back then. But
we had a conversation with Jelly Bean Johnson a while ago, the drummer of the time, and and he said like that. Yeah, we tried to dress like the Funkadelic stuff kind of guy to get a contract and all of this craziness. That was the atmosphere of the 70s, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, it made you feel like an actual artist because you know you're dressing just like totally different from everybody else. You know, it made you feel free. So it's like and this is what we all want to feel. We all want to feel free, especially the music make you feel free. You want to dress, you want to feel that way too.
So the years went by, and you gained this experience.
Yeah. So then, around 22, 23 years old, after this whole situation happened with our demo tape, Joe Jefferson invited me to come to Philadelphia to become an intern at Philadelphia International, working around Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, the songwriters there. These guys at that particular time on their label, they had Patti LaBelle, the OJs, the Jones Girls, MFSB was the orchestra playing behind everybody. So I was always around with them and going up to the recording studio every morning. And they were writing songs. They would just every day come in the studio, they were writing songs. So you start to really see that work ethic that goes on in the business. So that became part of everything I did every day. Just like trying to write songs, write ideas, prepare your show, how you can present it. The bass player got sick one time and they needed a new bass player, so they brought me down to play with the group. So that's how I got to go down to Key West and live down there. And I met all these jazz musicians down there. And this guy, Cordero Moffett, back in 1987, he said, man, I need you to come to New York to do my album. Because this was the first start now of the smooth jazz era. And so I started like flying back and forth to New York to go do recording sessions.
Even if you spend every dollar in the world on that, oh yeah. Somebody told me there were days like this, and I could be the only one that's wondering, if there's a heart out there, if there's a heart somewhere. We got a love that's gonna last. Because we were friends before we became lovers. And isn't that the way it should be? Yeah. Don't change a single thing. Let's take it nice and slow. Steady as we go.
In 1989, Cordero got a job at the Blue Note as running the jam session there. And I met this guy, Ariel, who eventually opened up a club called The Groove.
There you go.
He opened up Club 101 first.
Now we got that smile from Tim, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the Blue Moon many times. That whole area is fantastic.
Yeah, and then after they had several partners in the club, Club 101. But then Ariel wanted his own club. So he opened up a club called Groove. And it was an R&B club. But Ariel knew me as a singer, just a singer, jazz singer in this group that I was working with Cordero Moffett. So it took me years to finally get a relationship, to get a situation happening at the Groove, because Ariel was saying, this is an R&B funk club. I don't want jazz in my club. And I was going, I'm not a jazz singer, I'm a funk player. So it took up almost 2 years to convince him.
The Funketeers.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yo, man, I'm a funk man, you know. So, you know, I can bring the funk in your club if you really, that's what you really want. He said, okay, well, look, I'll give you Tuesday night happy hour. If you can increase my business in a month, I'll give you more nights. So that was
you took the challenge.
Huh? I took the challenge. Yeah. So once we got in the groove, it was like the magic started happening. Kept growing until I had just my own situation, working 3 nights at the Groove, 3 nights at Club 101.
Everybody, put your hands up. Everybody, come on.
Yeah. So it's like And then it was like a lot of people started to hear about what was going on down in the groove. The music, the mixture, how we was like mixing. We were almost like a live band DJ because of the way we would mix songs, or we would sing melodies from one song on a melody from another song and sing it over top of it. This is what Prince really liked, because, but we started doing that. And so then a lot of people started coming down, a lot of celebrities. Shaka Khan used to be a regular. She used to come down, check the scene out. A lot of the hip hop guys, because it was like a DJ. So we started to get a lot of guys from Wu-Tang. Jizza used to come down. Peter Guns, the guy Guru.
It's the place to be.
It was a very interesting place for musicians now to come, because it was different from a lot of the other clubs in the city, because the approach to music was different. It was more like combining a DJ's concept, a live band concept, right? And this whole improv, jazz kind of concept, it was all blended together now.
Yeah.
So you could come one place and get everything.
That was one of the interesting things when I came to the Grove, that this band, Linards Many Moods and so on, other bands there, you guys know everything and you played so well. If I closed my eyes there, I was sitting there enjoying myself in the dark in Manhattan, and I was like, that's Michael Jackson, is he here? This is Prince, where is he? Is he here? It was so fantastic how you did your shows.
Yeah, well, I put my show together, when I was 18, 19 years old, the same kind of concept, because I always wanted to pay honor to these guys that influenced my life.
I know that, Tim, when you were over there in the States and you give me a call, you're all excited. Well, I was at the Groove and it was amazing. And when we look at those clips,
Tim come in the club, because Tim is a music lover. I mean, he's a Prince lover, but he's a music lover too. So, we used to love his enthusiasm.
And we came up, and it was only black people there this night. It was early. It was like 7 or something, 8 maybe. And we got the seats, in the middle table close to the stage. And we knew all the lyrics. So we were singing to if it was Stevie Wonder or Prince, and I don't know if it was you or another band, but I think it was you guys. Somebody said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Michael, that to all the black people, said, these 2 white people are more black than you. They sing all the songs. Sing, for God's sakes. And it was an amazing memory for me. I talk about that all the time.
Wow. That's kind of like the vibe that was in the Groove, because it's like, we always wanted people to be interactive, you know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes, and then you'll be trying to get people, New Yorkers are not one to really start to get really interactive with things.
And it was a mix of regulars and tourists, right?
And the tourists, yeah. So a lot of times who would make the energy so fun was the tourists. Because they would come in like you guys, like you said, y'all would be singing along, so then that would make them sing along.
Everybody singing out.
Then I felt like a family member there.
Well, you were our family member there. This is what we created. This is what I try to recreate in New York, because I'm from Virginia. So and then Dean is from Trinidad and Miles is from Barbados. So and then Marcus from Florida. So
amazing mix. Yeah.
I want that atmosphere to always stay where people walk through the door, just like when Tim said he walked through the door, there was all black people there, but he didn't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No, and also that it changed from time to time. And I just want to add to what you're saying, that what I was so impressed about was that every day, if it was a Wednesday or a Friday or a Saturday, it was different, and you had the glow, you had the power. It was like you were not tired of what you were doing, because you got energy from, I guess, different people and the approach to who was in there or something.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because the thing is, it's like we was going to play our heart out, and regardless of how many people were sitting there. And the thing was, and I've always approached doing shows like that ever since I was a kid. So, and I felt that if I did that if I took that approach, then if I was in front of, it didn't make a difference how many people I was in front of, because I was just going to do the same approach and it was going to have the same results. So we played in front of 10 people before. Also, we played in front of 35,000 people before. And the approach was the same and the results was the same. People enjoyed themselves. They felt a part of, we had people dancing, people singing. So it's the same kind of thing.
You bad. Come on. Come on. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. I can fix your bone. Yeah, but come on. Don't hurt me again.
Prince used to come to the Groove every time he came to New York. The first time he came, Shelby brought him when Shelby got the job working with Prince. Shelby introduced him to the whole village scene down in New York City. So he really took a liking to my project. He really liked Michelangelo's voice. He loved the way Dean played drums.
Oh, he was fantastic.
He was really captivated the way Miles voiced chords and played keyboard. And he really liked Mark Bauer's guitar playing. So he was always around. Not only he came to the Groove, he came to this place called the Red Lion, which was really kind of, it used to always surprise us when he would pop into the Red Lion, because the Red Lion is like a real small bar, Irish bar.
That's on Bleecker Street. I was there with you a couple of times.
Yeah, you came.
I love the place. Yeah.
Yes, because it's real music friendly, and I think that's what Prince liked about it, because you got a really great sound in here, and it's real musician friendly. So it's like
had to bring my sis Mate to Groove so she can experience what I shared with Prince when I brought him here to hear this great band, Linards Many Moods, Michelangelo. They're playing this song tonight. They always play it in their set. You like it, Mate? You having a good time?
Amazing. I am.
So I'm gonna turn it right now to the band.
It's such a shame.
Reach the band.
It has been purple rain, purple rain.
And y'all felt that at the Dakota when y'all saw the show at the Dakota. We put that show for Shelby together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And because Shelby had worked, me and Shelby had put a thing together on Sunday nights at the Groove before she got the gig with Larry Graham, and then she went on with Prince. So we had already had a chemistry, Shelby and I. So when Prince saw the show, he told Shelby, when she do her solo thing, this should be her band. So this is kind of like how we.
So it's his blessing over it.
It was his blessing. Yeah.
It's your girl, Shelby J. I want to send some love out to my brother, Linard. Oh man, me and Linard go way back to our New York City days at the Groove, at Red Lion, one of the dopest bass players on the planet. I mean, he is, like I say with Larry Graham, he's the trunk of the funk tree. Linard is right there. He is, you know, he got some serious funk, and he's just been super supportive of me throughout my career. And Prince loved him when we came to Groove. Prince and I saw Linard with his band, and when we got out to LA during the Forum, Prince was like, I need that guy. I need that whole band out to do the after show at the Forum. And so he flew the whole band out to come and play, and I was so proud because when I called, they were ready. They were on it. Linard, David, they were there. They were ready to go. They say, stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Linard stays ready. So just sending him so much love. Then I took Linard to Australia. He got to know the Purple family down there playing Bird's Basement in Melbourne. So shout out to my brother Linard. I look forward to seeing you soon, making some beautiful music together. You know what it is. We are together forever. And that's what's up. So I love you, Linard, so very much. Yes, I do. I'm so proud of you. And keep the funk alive, man. Keep the funk going. You know, Many Moods and the Purple family and all of that. So music is where it's at. And we got to keep real music by real musicians going always. All right. Love you, Linard. Mwah. I'm so proud
Michael, you know, and Shelby came out singing, and she saw us, and she was like, "Hey!" And then I said to Michael, "I know that bass player, I think, on the stage there. I know the bongo man too." And we walked up there, and then it was you, and that was funny to see. I had no idea you guys were there.
That was a great night that night, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a great venue, great place. You did this album a couple of years ago as well, right?
Yes, I did my own CD, Linards Many Moods, the first episode, which is also too a reflection of the many styles of music that I was influenced by. So this is why I call my project Many Moods, because, you know, sometimes you're in the mood to hear jazzy music, sometimes you're in the mood to hear funk music, sometimes you're in the mood to hear rock, sometimes reggae. You know, that's all coming out of our community anyway. So
that's so interesting, because that was my next topic, because I have been spending my last weeks here listening to that album, and I would say that, wow, there are such a rich variety. Last track, Love, it's pure like 70s. Take the Time too. You got the reggae stuff, and we hit in the club with this. There are P-funk stuff in that one, and what's this one? It's not Magic, I think.
It's not Magic. It's like Kool and the Gang kind of.
Yeah, it's like Kool and the Gang, a little bit of Temptations in it. It's like and then So Sexy. It's almost like, wow, there we got the 90s hip hop all of a sudden. And I mean, it's
Cameo meets hip hop of 2000. Yeah.
So it's like that album Wow, do you really need more?
Then it seems things change, somehow got rearranged. Trying to see it through, I thought I had a clue. Girl, you want your way, always something to say. If I don't agree, it's not right for me to believe. It's not magic.
Not magic.
Hey, you gotta get up your groove if you want your body to move. It's not magic.
Not magic.
You can reach higher.
And we got some new music coming out. We got some new music coming out really soon. So talking a little bit about the times we're living in now.
Yeah.
I got the song Everybody Dance, where it's like, you know, we're going through so much right now. You know, we just need an outlet to like just dance, not think about any other things, the outside things that's going on. Just like let it go for a minute, just dance. You know? But, you know, my head is always in writing mode. So I'm always writing songs. I'm in the studio here. I'm in Warsaw, Poland right now. So we're going in the studio quite a bit, working on some projects. So we did a show not too long ago in Norway. Big show over there. It was really, really cool. I think the video on YouTube now, Take the Time To, where there's a lot of shots that's in that video. It's from the show we did in Norway.
Come on, oh, take the time to, take the time to, hey, look here, oh, take the time.
You work as a producer, you write, you arrange these shows, and you got a lot of things to do. Could you cherry pick some of the, I don't know, I guess you have been studio musician for some and writing something and doing and have collaborations. Could you help us pick some cherries from the Linard cake?
The cherries for the Linard cake. That's a good way to put it. I don't know what kind of cherries you want. No, maybe around 97, 98, 99. I met Kalis Bayan and I became an internship with him, writing with Cool and the Gang people. Matter of fact, I was signed with Kalis to his production company when he was developing a group that ended up becoming the Fugees. So I was in the studio with Lauryn Hill, Wycliffe.
Wow.
We was at this studio called House of Music out in West Orange.
That's a piece of modern music history there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the reason why my group at that time didn't start to get kind of the promotion is because the Fugees took off with that song "Killing Me Softly." But that was Kalis Bayan behind that. But I was involved with Kalis for a long time, writing songs.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. I'm gonna find you and take it slowly. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. I'm gonna find you and take you slow. Now that I escape, sleepwalk away.
Well, one thing I would love to add is, I'm grateful for all of this entire journey. This has been an amazing experience for my life, to enrich my life, to have been in this business. But as a kid, I never even focused on being in this business. So it was like all the many things that have transpired over my life now. It's just been amazing. And now to sit here now and talk to you guys about my experience through this, my journey through this, and then to have like my playing, how you described my playing earlier, how you really feel it. And that's what my playing is all about. I want people to feel it. I don't want people just to sit back. You know, I never want to be like a jazz set. Like you go to a jazz club and you see just musicians playing a whole lot of notes. But a lot of people don't understand that.
Wow.
So, and they don't really feel that. So the only people that could appreciate that was people that understood the music. I never wanted just musicians to like appreciate what I wanted everybody to be able to feel what I did. So,
and I think that's a very great ending, because you embodied a lot of that. We talk often, Tim and I and the whole Say What crew, about the legacy of the legends, like taking this further on. Who is doing that? And there are many people doing it in different ways. But as you say, when we look at your playing and we feel it, and Tim have had the opportunity to listen to it live often, it's got this kind of improvisation thing. It's all of that in there, and it's something true about it. So it's been an honor to take part of your stories here, Linard. And
thank you very much. Thank you too, Tim, man, for like having me.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for new interviews and reviews. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and our homepage for the latest news.